early visit. I just said to Mr. Sullivan in the hallway, this is a really early visit to the school, beginning of the year. But then on that note, you all need to really pat yourselves on the back because I am blown away at how far advanced you are in implementing the Achieve 3000 solution, and it's October 3rd. Level set assessment window doesn't even end till the 14th, and you guys are just rocking and rolling with this. So thank you sincerely, because I know the long list of things you have to do at the beginning of the year, on top of just getting to know your kids and getting your routines and procedures in place. So I do acknowledge that, and I wanted to make sure to publicly acknowledge you for that. So I'm going to be jumping around during this hour or so, maybe a little less than an hour that we have together. If you have a laptop and want to log on to your teacher edition, that would be great, so that you can kind of
Will it let me be logged in twice?
It should.
Okay.
It's not gonna let you log on at all. It's down.
Would you?
It was down. It was down first thing this morning, but it came back. I don't know what happened.
He said he's going to check on it again. He said it's down.
Yeah, it was down in my room when we first tried it,
That's all right.
but
We're
then it
going
came
to
up.
start with this little PowerPoint here. I don't want to read a PowerPoint to you, but I wanted to be sure that while I was here with you today, I spoke to you about what the district goals are for Achieve this year, just so that we're all on the same page. I did take some of these slides and type up a little notes page for you, and I did pass that out. Basically, I want to be sure that you guys are aware of the 2 reports that you're going to be expected to become familiar with and get to know well over the year. The first one is a weekly report called How Are My Students Spending Their Time? This is the one that every Sunday gets emailed to you. So the report is generated and it's sent to you in an email. Right to your Achieve 3000 mailbox. So don't look for it in your Outlook mail. It's going to be on your teacher edition in the mailbox. We're going to take a quick peek at this report just so you're aware of really what to hone in and look for. This report is going to let you know how your students spent their time the week before. So today is Monday, so you should have a report in your mailbox that was sent to you yesterday that reflects the last week of September, how your students spent their time. And what we really want to look at as that report's coming out is how many activities they're completing in a week, what their average activity score is, and then are they or are they not using reading connections. Now, I understand you guys haven't really introduced the reading connections yet or started formally using them. So as you do, that will be a section on that report that you'll want to look at. The second report is how has Lexile performance changed over time. That's a monthly report, and that's what's going to help you track.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
It's recorded for.
Sorry. I was caught up in teaching, so.
That's going to help you track Lexile performance as the school year goes on. So month to month, you'll look at that report. What happens is, just so you guys are aware, and if I'm telling you something that you already know, tell me you got it. I just want to be sure we're all on the same page and have an understanding. The last day of every month, when we go home over the night, the system goes in and it looks at what your students have done that month and Achieve. For the algorithm to work, they have to have a minimum of 4 activities. So your district goal is 1 activity a week. So that means they have to complete one of those activities in order for there to be enough for the system to look at. So they have to have a minimum of 4, and what it does is it looks at their first try score on that activity at step 3. And then it determines if they are ready for a Lexile adjustment. So that's what generates this report here. How has Lexile performance changed over time? All right, so were you familiar with how the system does the auto adjust? Were you aware of that? Okay, one little caveat I want to tell you is, if you have a child who completes all 4 activities in the month and consistently on every first try gets a 75, there's a possibility that the auto adjustment will not occur. Because if you think about it, typically your nonfiction literacy course that has the page 1 and the page 2 dig deeper has 8 multiple choice questions. So if they're getting a 75, they've missed 3. If they miss 1 more, they're at 50%. So the algorithm is going to look at that, and if they're only ever scoring 75, it may not adjust them.
This is on the first try, right?
On the first try, exactly. And it's really important that you understand that and that you communicate it to the kids. I've talked to a couple kids in some of your classrooms already today. They seem very aware of first try scores and second try scores, and they're very aware of what the score needs to be. What we're going to talk about this year going into year 2 of implementation is scores of higher than 75. We really want to shoot for the 88s and the 100s, because if we just get 75s all the time, our Lexile may not grow. Okay, but good job, your kids are obviously aware of that. Another teacher goal is the use of the stretch article at least once a month for direct instruction. So, did you all use Achieve last year? Okay, did you have a chance to dig into the stretch articles at all or not?
Time-wise, no. We have social studies on our plate as well, so it does get kind of dicey trying to get it all.
Okay, so I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how you could use the stretch article where it is not just another add-on or something else that I have to do. And we'll talk about that today a little bit further and kind of tie it into what you guys are already doing as far as starting to pull particular articles that address a particular unit in science or social studies or address a particular concept that you're working on. So that'll work out nicely. All right, student goals. Quick and easy, we've kind of already talked about them. Minimum of 40 lessons. Scores that exceed 75% accuracy. So that's kind of something to talk about with the kids, like I said. They may know from last year you're looking for a first try score of 75. We want to really promote the above, exceeding the 75. Complete at least one reading connections entry or a graphic organizer for each article. And that's promoting close reading. Another thing I share with your principal today is here's the bottom line. Everyone sitting in this room, we're all educators. Our ultimate end-all goal is that students learn to be strategic readers, that they internalize those close reading strategies, and that they develop the habits of mind of what is a close strategic reader. Whether we're doing that with Achieve or something else is not really the point. The point is that we want them to be strategic readers. We want to develop that automatic application of close reading strategies that will help them to comprehend. So the reading connections entry is a way to do that. But what we're also going to have to think about is we can't just tell kids to use reading connections. Okay? I love what you're doing with the graphic organizers. That's another way that you're already way ahead 4 weeks into the school year. You've come together in your co-labs, you've looked at articles to pull, you've looked at some type of creating some type of a graphic organizer or a response sheet, whatever you want to call it, an exit ticket, something where they're demonstrating to you what their comprehension of that article was and in writing. That's awesome. You know, just like that, that's something that you have to teach and model. So another thing that I shared with Andrea just as we've been walking around this morning is I want you to know that you are in control of how you're doing this. When it's time for you to put the brakes on or stop and step in and model something fully, please do that. So if there's a week where you have an article and you're introducing either a new reading connection for the first time or a new graphic organizer for a particular standard, I love the idea of stopping, projecting an article up on the board, and you actually modeling that. So that's where that stretch article can come in. Okay, so think about this. The stretch article, and if you're looking at your teacher edition, well, I don't know, have you been able to get on yet or no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if you're looking at your teacher edition, you know that every article that you have comes with a stretch article. So if I just click into Goodbye to the Greatest, some of you kids were reading this today. Every article comes with a stretch article. So just to be sure, the stretch article is just another version of the article. But it's always going to be at grade level or above. So some of you already have kids that are reading at a Lexile level that indicates that they're college and career ready already. So their stretch article available to them can be up to 2 grade levels higher. But here's my point. If your district is saying that you have to use the stretch article at least once a month, then I want you to start thinking about when you're in collaboration and you're looking at what is a new strategy that I need to introduce. Because you know, quarter 1 and quarter 2 is when you're introducing, modeling, and practicing everything. You don't start maintaining till quarter 3. So when you have to deliver a whole group lesson where you're introducing a particular standard or a particular strategy for reading, you can use the stretch article from one of the articles that your kids have already read. You're exposing them to grade level text. It's appropriate for a whole group lesson because it is on grade level. And then your kids are able to bring to the table their knowledge. They'll have a lot more pre-existing or background information, or they have more schema to bring to that article. But it's a great article for you to use to model whole group. So again, I don't want you to think about using the stretch article as something else I have to do. I want you to think about what whole group lesson do I need to teach in language arts. Let me choose the stretch article from one of the lessons that my students are going to be reading, and let it be from one that's going to reinforce something I'm doing right now in social studies or in science. Does that make sense? Okay, and be reminded that when you have a stretch article, along the side, under your teacher recommendations, it already provides for you all the text-dependent discussion questions for the article, so that's helpful as well. And then it does have a stretch activity. So once you do the stretch article with your students, you can still reinforce the test-taking strategies as you go in and complete the stretch activity questions with them. You can do that whole group, you can do it with clickers, or you can do it a lot of different ways where they're involved. Alright? So that's just one way to think about that particular goal and how you're going to incorporate that. Students becoming aware of and keeping track of first try scores. So Andrea told me you're having the kids write in their notebooks and keep track of what their first try scores are, the articles they've read, things like that. So being aware of Lexals is something that I want to share with you via the Career Center. Okay, so I want to introduce you all to the Career Center and maybe suggest it as a way for your kids to make real-world sense of what their Lexile is, what it means, and kind of set some goals for the Lexile. All right, so did anyone use the Career Center last year?
We did. No, we did. We did that lesson where we showed them, like, if your Lexile is a 700, you can be a hairdresser. You can be. Remember we did that last year?
I didn't. I never.
Maybe it wasn't with
I
you.
like the idea of it.
And then the kid that had like a 1400 could be an astronaut or whatever. Like it just
Right.
listed different jobs,
Yep.
right? The
Okay,
careers
yeah,
that they
so
could have.
I want to take you through the Career Center today, and I would really strongly suggest that you take, and granted, you'll have to take a period of time to do it, but introduce them to the Career Center, have the kids pick their top career. Know that in the student edition, the Career Center is the only place your kids can go to see their Lexile level. That's where it lives. It's kind of in there. It's a private place. That's the only way they can access it. When they pick a top career, it then helps them to track their growth of their Lexile toward a career goal. All right, so I'm going to take you guys in and show you that and how that ties in with this goal for your students. All right, so any questions so far about anything I've talked about?
I think you should go to short.
So the stretch article. So it's linked to one of the 3 or 4 that they're assigned. That, or we could pick a different
I mean,
kind of
I've been
stretch. It
doing
doesn't
it,
matter as
having to
long
log
as we
in
do
and
one
all this,
stretch
but
a
I've done
month.
internet.
Correct, and
Okay.
my suggestion just is so that it isn't like an additional thing you have to do, and for it to be more beneficial to your students, because it is gonna be at grade level or above, because that's the idea, is that you're stretching them to grade level if they are below it, or you're stretching them even beyond if they are at grade level. It would make best sense for you to pick one that they've already read, so they leverage that knowledge against it, and if it then is one that you pick because it aligns to your science or social studies, it just helps reinforce those concepts as well.
Okay.
So that would be a
Is that
suggestion.
HMH?
No, it's still up. Heather.
Any other questions? Okay. So what I'd like to do is a quick tour of the teacher edition for you to show you a couple things. So was everyone able to get into their teacher edition?
Finally.
Alright, so first of all, if you ever get lost in your teacher edition, you're like, where was I? Where do I need to go? Just always click on your KidViz Pro icon. It just kind of takes you home and refreshes your page.
See, mine's always stuck on that
Stuck on what?
screen.
Okay, well,
Instead of showing like the articles and everything like the kids see.
oh yeah, your view is going to look a little bit different. So to go in to see your articles, you go down here and do your schedule my lessons.
Okay, I didn't know if there was a way to change it so it opens like
No.
This is old, man.
Alright, so the first thing I do want to show you guys, and if you'll click with me, you know that you can access your menu from the left slide out menu, or you can just scroll down through the center. I like to work from the middle, that's just my preference. But I'd like you to click under your lesson carousel to view Virginia courses. This is something that's really important for you guys to know about, and I'm looking at a 5th grade screen. So what grade levels are in here?
Fifth.
All 5th, perfect, okay. Alright, so I always like to make sure, if I would work with you in the summer, I would go over this in a summer training so that you start the year, and that's one benefit of coming in so early. It's just to make sure you understand what courses are available to you, and how when you're picking and choosing the courses, or how when you're customizing your calendar, you kind of have a way to do that, or a priority in your mind. So first of all, I always start with the weekend course. Alright, the weekend course, really, you don't ever have to do anything with it. It's fully loaded for your students, and those are articles that are scheduled for Saturdays and Sundays. If you want to add to it, you can, but the point is, Achieve loads your calendar so that your kids have Lexile leveled appropriate articles that they can read at home on the weekend. It's a completely separate course called the weekend course, and they're really fun topics, interesting. It's just like pleasure reading for your kids, but it's a nice way to know that when they're at home, they're reading at that Lexile level to continue their growth as readers, as opposed to not having access to something at home, or only having access to something at home that's too easy or too hard for them. Okay, so if your kids aren't aware of it and they're not using it, you can kind of promote that with them, but you don't have to ever worry about it. Next you have, and this is in no priority order up here, but you have a news course. What I want you to know and remember about the news course is, it is current events, so it's often very high interest and the kids are really into the articles, or you might find a topic that's really relevant to something that's happening right now in the world that your kids are talking about. But what I want you to always remember is they have one page. Okay, like that Muhammad Ali one today, it's just an article. There's not a page 1 and then a page 2 dig deeper. So you want to be cautious that if you are customizing your calendar, you're not overloading it with news courses, because that's cutting down on the idea of stamina reading multiple sources of text. So just keep that in mind. They're not bad, but you don't want to have every article, or every article they're reading in a given week be a news article, because there'll be less reading, okay? So, your nonfiction literacy is really, in my opinion, the biggest bang for your buck, because it is the page 1, page 2, so you're building the stamina, and it's what is aligned to your science and your social studies. Okay, so if you said to me, okay, give me this scenario, I can only assign 1 lesson this week, only 1, where should I go? Go to your nonfiction literacy. That's going to be the best in terms of building their stamina, addressing ELA, and addressing content. Now, this is something, okay, that aviation course, that was specially designed for 5th grade to go along with your field trip to the air show. Okay, so that's not a normal course, that's something that was developed for that. So those 12 lessons, I don't know where you are with them, if you rolled out using them because they had that field trip, if you want to just let the kids pick and choose to do them as a follow-up to that field trip, but I'm really not going to address them any further than that because it's not a typical course, okay? What I really want to talk about is this SOL challenge course. If you used Achieve last year, these were called bonus lessons. You remember that from last year? And there were 8 of them. So, last year we were all like, this is great, we love the bonus lessons, but there's 8 of them. It's not enough. So, it's nice to tell you that now there are 28. But here's what I tell teachers. This is what I would love to see you guys do. And please hear me. Everything that I'm going to tell you today are just suggestions. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell you there's only one way or one right way. I'm just going to give you suggestions. But I want you to think about this. There are only 28 of those lessons. They are developed to mirror an SOL test. So they are going to have multiple sources of text. So for example, you might have an article, and then some type of chart, table, or diagram, then another article, which is great, especially that chart, table, diagram. Or you might have an article, and then a primary source document, and then another article for social studies, which is also great. When they get to step 3, the activity, there's a part 1 and a part 2, because we bring in technology enhanced items. So you have TEIs, you'll have drag and drop, you'll also have questions that have maybe a part A, a part B, or you'll have a question that gives them 5 answer choices and they have to get all the right answers and they have to get 3 of the 5, or they missed the question. So it's really like an SOL. So here's my caution. Those lessons are already loaded in your calendar. Some kids were doing them today. So you've probably already done some of these lessons. So what I'm going to suggest to you is that you go into the calendar now, and I'll show you how quick and easy it is to do. Pull those lessons out. You really want to save those lessons until, in my opinion,
In spring, yeah.
yes, like quarter 3. You don't want your kids eating up those challenge lessons now when you haven't even taught all of your curriculum, introduced everything, which is quarter 1 and quarter 2. I also want you to think about, so what you can do is you can sit down with a year calendar and you can look at, okay, where does SOL testing begin, and then you can back up and then drop those lessons in so that it's more of a test prep usage and it's closer to your SOL. You may also do like an SOL boot camp, where you know you're going to have 4 or 6 weeks after school where kids are going to come twice a week to work on language arts to prepare for the test. You might save those lessons to be used then. So I just want you to think about those 28 lessons and pull them off your calendar now so kids aren't doing them. If they've already done 1 or 2, no big deal. Let's save the rest of them. There are some that were on the calendar in August that they probably haven't done, although they've gone to their list and picked one. So my point is, get in the calendar and get those pulled.
Is it
Okay.
too, if they've started one, like the scientists needed was scheduled for September 12th, and some of them have done it, can we not take it off the calendar if they've already started one?
Well,
Or can't move it?
that we'll have to see. I know the child can't do it again, but I don't think it prevents you from moving it, but it may. We're past some days.
Well, let's
So,
try.
yeah, we're gonna try. So does that make sense to you to kind of preserve those SOL ones? Okay, so we'll definitely look at how to do that. I was telling Andrea this morning, I used to look at my June calendar as like a bulletin board. Because you know, sometimes you'll come to collaboration and you might search a lesson and you look at it and someone will say, you know what, that sounds like a really good lesson, but we can't use it right now, but we could use it in next month. And then 2 weeks go by, you come back to the table and someone says, what was that article, and who remembers? I can't think of the title, so you're searching again. So I used to just pin stuff on the June calendar after SOLs, or I mean after the school year ended, and then I could just hop on there and change the date. It was almost like a little bulletin board for me. So you can do that with your SOL challenge lessons or any other lessons that you find. Alright, so does that make sense as far as how to pick and choose articles if you're really trying to customize your calendar? You can also search by a particular topic, like in 4th grade, if they're working on phases of the moon, they can search that and load their calendar. 5th grade, what are y'all working on in history right now?
Really geography and then moving into Virginia Indians.
Okay, so you can search geography, find lessons, and just load your calendar that way.
Is there a way just to search for the SOL courses?
Yes.
That just brought up a,
Yes, if you go here to schedule my lessons, so if you scroll back up at the top, and just so you can see, in the list view, your eye can quickly go, when you see that A, you know that's an article only, and that's that news course. Remember I was telling you, so it only has 1 page.
Where
Little A that's on the thumbnail, that means article only,
okay.
that's that news course.
so you can't just filter by SOL challenge just to bring just
Yes,
that? You
you
can't?
can.
Okay.
Mhm.
Show me that.
But if
'cause I'm-
you're scrolling through here,
That's why I'm scrolling
you see
through.
the thumbnail with the star on it, you know that's your challenge lessons as well. That's how they're indicated,
Okay.
is by that star, like right there.
So
That
how,
always means challenge lessons. When you do a search, if you go to search for more lessons, under advanced options, it'll say lesson types, and there's
Okay.
your challenge lessons right there.
and
Okay.
then how do we move them? That's what you're
Okay.
talking about us doing right
Well,
now?
what I would do right now if I were you is I would just go in to my list view.
Okay.
So let's say I scroll down and find a challenge lesson.
Scientists needed is my first one. Is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah, I moved it.
It says 9/12.
Okay.
So
Well, here, let me show you on this one. I found Big News for Bikes,
Okay.
scheduled for October 24th, and I don't want my kids using that because it's an SOL challenge lesson and it's too soon. You simply click on the hyperlink dates and a calendar pops up.
Alright, wait, can I find that first?
It was on.
I see it, Good Deeds for
Okay.
Dogs, okay. So what do you click on?
This is just a suggestion. What I used to do was just, I'd go to my June calendar and I'd use it as a bulletin board. And I just tack things on there that I wanted for later in the year. So I just put June 19th as a start date, June 19th as an end date. I say, okay. I'm not gonna do it because it'll actually take it off your calendar with this modeling. But if you click okay, it just moves it.
So that's what you're suggesting we do.
For those 28, whatever your kids have not done yet, pull them off these calendars. It's too soon. And then when you want SOL challenge
Put it
lessons,
back
they're gonna be
in.
gone. Oh, well, yeah, then just put it back in.
Or you can
Correct.
just pick a date
Yeah.
later in the year, like
That's
after
what I'm
quarter
doing, I'm just
three.
picking
Right.
Instead of putting them all in
first.
June,
Okay.
you can
Yeah.
pick a date and put it in there, so you don't have to
Alright,
go back.
so
So
like
once I've
March
got
or
it filtered
something.
from the
Right,
side,
that's
though,
what
it
I
won't let me click
April,
on the
May, yeah.
individual
Yeah,
ones.
March is good.
Yeah, okay, so
What do I
you're
do?
gonna merge your search.
Yeah.
Put it in when I'm
Cause
ready.
there's 28 of them.
Yeah.
My advice
I'll
for
pick a
searching
date.
is to go to the
I'll
one
what
view.
date I
Alright, mine
You
didn't
just
change
did
the
an
date.
advanced option search of challenge lessons
Yeah.
and did a search.
Well, and then I had to filter by grade,
Yep. Okay.
and then filter again by channel.
Okay,
So is this what you're finding?
So
Yeah,
you-
because that's 64. You
you
gotta
click
filter
on
it
this and then
anytime.
put, okay?
Did you put the dates?
Yeah, mine didn't change it. So
You have to
Go
click on the actual,
to
like a day,
Oh, a
yes,
day, not just month.
courses.
like this. Click on the date.
Yeah, you go to SOL fifth grade.
Oh, sorry.
June.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
to
You're
March,
right, you got it.
first.
But then once you're there, it won't let you click on the
There's
article.
your 28.
Click on the date.
Yeah.
So what this is showing you, so just let me tell you, when you do a search like this, whenever you see the pink like that, you know it's already been assigned.
So how can I change it
So
from
you
that?
can't change it
Oh,
from
okay.
this screen,
Alright, so I need to go to
Sorry. because it's already been assigned. If you searched for an article that had not been assigned to your class, so let me just give you a quick example of that. When you do any kind of search and the bar is gray, you know it hasn't been assigned. Then you can just click and drag things from your search bar and literally drag them where you want them onto your calendar, or you can change the date because it'll be hyperlinked at that point. But if it's already assigned, you can't.
Okay, if I just change the date, that makes it disappear from this list, right?
Yeah, and just move it to that next calendar date. Doesn't
I'm just
disappear
moving it to
forever.
like March.
Right, but I mean, I won't see it now unless I go to March and then, okay.
Yep. So again, we're not gonna take
So-
the time today to do
Alright.
that. I just want you guys to look at your courses and say, okay, my SOL course,
Yeah,
I
mine
need to
didn't
preserve that. There's only 28 lessons and they're loaded throughout the year. I wanna take them and move them and use them in the spring as an SOL prep course. Plus, you don't wanna use SOL challenge lessons when you're still introducing stuff to the curriculum.
It's not there
Doesn't
anymore.
make the best sense.
Yeah, it is, mine's still
Okay.
there.
Mine just here.
Alright, if you look here, you go back home on your teacher edition. I want you all to go under your admin settings very quickly, and I want to quickly review for you. So under your name, admin settings, under user admin, I want you to click on edit student information.
Alright, where did you,
Yeah, I heard.
where did you go?
Alright, so go back home, if you weren't with me,
Admin
go
settings.
under your name
Okay,
and click on admin settings.
okay.
Alright?
Student.
And this is what I call Command Central. This is pretty much where you can control a lot of things about your students in your classroom. I wanted to go over a couple things here. You edit student information. Click that and it'll pull up your entire class list. Now if you're assigned to more than one class, it'll ask you, select a class. I'm just going to click the first class, submit, and then your screen will look like this. Okay? That's your class. One thing Andrea and I talked about this morning is what Achieve does, you take your level set assessment, we give you that Lexile level, and then we flag kids for you as either being college and career ready or being developing readers with that yellow triangle and the exclamation point. Okay? So, when you have kids who have that developing reader icon or the college and career readiness, I want you to think about going into your user admin and enabling some different scaffolds and supports for them. So for example, kids who are developing readers, everybody comes with the default of vocabulary and audio support. If you have a developing reader, you can go in and you can enable full full audio support. This is really important for kids who, of course, have an IEP that says they qualify for read aloud. Please turn that on for them. And kids who are developing readers, like some of you said you have the BRs, put that in place for them as well. Now, it is going to give you a little pop-up box. When you enable full audio support for a child, it's going to tell you pause for a second. And remember, when you turn on full audio support for kids, you could be addressing their listening comprehension, which often, well really for all of us, is always higher than our reading comprehension, right? So they're just going to warn you to remember that, because then it could inflate the Lexile. They're just cautioning you, but you say, okay, I know that, and you enable that. If you're going to enable a full audio support, then I want you to also go over to the scaffolds, and I want you to enable the intervention support. Okay, and I will show you what an intervention support does for kids. I'm going to tell you, and then if we have time, I'm going to go in and show you. It's going to, at their 5-step literacy routine, number their 5 steps so that they are focused, because often struggling readers are, our teachers tell me they're hopping all around. They're clicking here, they're clicking here, so that kind of helps them. When they go into the article, a vocabulary and concept preview box is going to pop up. It's going to stop them before they even read, and it's going to tell them these are important words and concepts to think about before you read. When they go to the thought question, it'll give them a sentence starter to get them started. So it just puts some additional instructional supports in. So, again, full audio and intervention go hand in hand. For your kids who are college and career ready, already, you can go into scaffolds, and you can enable an enrichment scaffold for them. What this does is it still continues to deliver their articles to them at their Lexile level, but then it gives them links to other related articles or topics or videos to just extend them a little bit more and challenge them a little more. Okay, so that's a nice feature. If you have any students that need language support, you also have that. So before you can change the language, you have to enable that language scaffold. You see, this class for some reason has that language scaffold on for a lot of kids. As opposed to everybody should come with standard. So
Mine says all language too. Should we change it?
You said they should stay. What's the difference between the language and standard?
standard is just, what I mean by standard is the default. Like, we're not, because we don't know, the computer doesn't know that your child would need an intervention scaffold or an enrichment scaffold. So the standard scaffold is just the straight up program without.
So that's what it should be
So I
though?
don't know why these are all on language.
Yeah,
They
mine,
should all be standard.
should we change them back though?
So go down to the bottom. Yeah, I mean, really, unless you're telling me you have ESL kids, you know, it's very rare that an entire class or all but a couple kids would be language in a classroom, unless you're in a.
Okay,
predominantly
language is like you're saying, someone that's
Spanish support or full Spanish.
So,
you guys look
when
at
you
that.
reset it, is there a okay or something after you do it that makes it stick? Or there is at the
Yeah,
bottom?
you have to click down here to save your changes. I don't know why it's not letting me just change everybody at once right
Yeah, that would be nice.
now. Well, that's how it normally is. It's here, it is here.
Yeah.
So I get them here.
Literally.
Does that change the dynamics of the passages, clicking on the language scaffold?
Well, no,
change
because
anything?
here's what's weird is, well, you know what, you guys, actually, don't even worry about it.
Oh my
because
God,
if
I
you have
just
language here, it's just a mixture on this screen that I picked up on, and I don't know why it looks like that. As long as this is English over here, you're not changing any dynamic of the lesson. But you can't change English to Spanish or partial Spanish unless you put the language scaffold on, but I don't know why the language scaffold is on, but as long as we're in English, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but it should be a standard unless you get that.
So if someone's speaking Spanish, would you want to put it on English with Spanish or just
The options
Spanish?
are full Spanish or Spanish support. Most of the time, in our schools, we would not enable full Spanish because what you want kids to develop is their English proficiency if they're ESL
So that's
students.
the English
So you
with
would put
Spanish.
Spanish support. And I would talk to your ESL teacher about that because if you have a child who just arrived to our country and doesn't even speak any English, then we could do the full Spanish. So that's a decision you would make based on their level in ESL. You can talk to your ESL teacher about that. Alright, mainly I wanted to talk to you because right now what your data is showing you is kids who are developing readers and kids who are college and career. If they're developing readers, then you want to focus on that full audio and that intervention. And if they're college and career readiness, the enrichment. Okay, makes sense?
Mhm.
Repeat that again.
I think that, I'll wait.
Repeat that.
Yes, I will.
Are you gonna have a question answer period at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, it's October 3rd. So what we have now is your initial level set assessment data and possibly at the
Some
end of
lessons.
September, a reflection of what they've done in the couple weeks they've been using the program.
Right.
The main reason I took you to this screen was because you know right now, based on level set assessment, who's a developing reader with that yellow triangle and exclamation point, or a beginning reader with the BR, and you also know who's college and career ready. So if you have kids that are developing readers in 5th grade or BR, beginning readers, you want to enable or consider enabling full audio support and intervention for them, and then the enrichment for your kids who are college and career ready. That's something I want you to think about, because moving forward, you want to have any scaffold in place that's going to benefit the kids, and those are the two primary ones based on an initial level set. Okay? Alright, so I'm gonna go back home again, so get your screen refreshed. And I'm gonna use the side menu real quick just to show you. Something that's brand new this year is the Achieve 3000 Hub. I'm not gonna take you in there now for time's sake, but I want you to know it's available to you. It's basically a repository of all things Achieve 3000. It has an entire timeline for the year. So if you said to me, well, I can't remember what you talked to me about customizing curriculum, there's a whole section there. There are demo videos in there for you. There's ideas for ways to motivate your kids. It's just basically a storehouse of ideas and information for you. Under reports, we're going to go to those two particular reports. Remember, one should be up here in your mailbox, which you'll get a lot of mail. You see that's at like 99 plus. But we can find it here under usage as well. So you see we're right back to that screen we were just in. I just accessed it a different way. But I want you to look at how are my students spending their time. I'm just going to show you one. Bear in mind again, it's October 3rd, so you're not going to have a ton of data. So I'm going to pull this report up to show you what it is you need to look at.
Wait a minute. When I clicked on that, it says, who should we include in this report?
Yeah, all you have to pick is which class. It'll include everybody.
Oh, which
You
class.
just
Okay.
pick which class and then
Okay.
down to the bottom and submit it.
Instruments. All right, thank you.
Yeah. Alright, so here's what I was talking about. Here's one of those beginning readers right here. When you get this report, it comes to you, like I said, every Monday for the week before. You want to look at activities here. And if it's just for a week, your goal is to have one activity a week. So you want to look at that. How many activities are the kids doing? Because sometimes more is not better. Okay? And that same thinking can go along with points. Sometimes more doesn't always mean better. Kids can rack up a whole lot of points and they're not making any progress and they're not being successful in the program. The points are to motivate, but they don't equate to progress. So what's important is to look at the average activity score. This column right here is what's critical
Mm.
for Lexile growth. So take a look there because you're looking for that 75% or higher.
I have a question. On some of my reports, like I was looking at how they are doing on reports or on their activities, and for one kid it said like 9 below 75% and 0 for above 75%, which is awful. But anyway, on here it's telling me that this kid has only done 6 activities, but it's telling me in that other report that they have 9.
Well, make sure to look at the time range,
Oh, that's
the
true.
date range.
Okay.
That'll affect it for sure.
So this only gives.
The one that gets
Okay.
sent to your mailbox is your snapshot of most
That
recent
week.
time, the Monday through
Okay.
Friday before.
Okay.
Correct. Yep, good question. And then guys, here's the area I want you to look at right here is reading connections. Right now, this data is showing us all zeros, but that's because you haven't yet started incorporating those reading connections. You've started to introduce your graphic organizers. Your goal for the district says reading connections or a graphic organizer, so you all need to know and recognize what you're doing with that. It's not gonna be tallied on your report, okay? So don't let that throw you. But as you begin to assign those reading connections at step 2, then this is how you can tell if the kids are actually using them and give them some feedback and guide your instruction, okay? Alright, so because we only have 10 minutes left right now, what questions, someone asked about a question and answer, so what specific questions do you have that I can address for you?
Well, first of all, what we're looking at right now, let's say for example, I have a child that activity average score is 38%, and she's been writing down that, but it says other over here on the far right says 81%. So here, I can tell you I've made a mistake right now because my understanding of this was I was focusing on them doing a lesson, doing the 2 whatever question things that came along with it, and I focused on the fact of if you, on the paper that we have where they're logging it in, that we were given.
First try scores?
Okay, it says first try and they write down a 58, and then the second try would be, and I had said 75%. That I wanted them to get. So they might write down 75 or whatever, and I've been like checking it, but according to this isn't what they've been showing me. So now, the other thing I want to tell you is I haven't been pushing them to...
First of all, this is an average activity score. So
Right.
It's an average. It's not going to replicate each
The
activity
second,
score for you.
oh, so their first one is a 0, because and then they did a second try and it's an 80, it's still the
They
average
only
of it
average
all.
the first
It's the average of like all.
Okay, so I don't really want to look at that, do I? Yeah, I probably
Oh, it
do,
is, it
so.
averages the second try too?
No, it's an
Just the
average of
first
the
try.
activities in that week on the first try.
Okay.
Correct.
So
Oh,
say
on the
they did-
first
Right, so
try.
say they
Yeah.
did like 3 activities, they
Uh-huh.
got like an 88, then a 75, then a 38. It'll take all 3 of those scores and give you the average.
But it only does it for the first try score, not the second try
Right.
score.
Yeah,
So they
what-
could have an 88% and you'd be like, oh, that's really good, and then not show you the 38% score that they got. And then you look at
Right.
their score, you're like, why is their score so low if they were getting 88? Because somewhere along the way they scored somewhere low to make the average go down on the first try.
Okay. So, and then the other thing was, after those 2 little things, since that's what my focus was to the kids,
What do you mean by 2 little things?
that first and second try on the questions, then I think I can tell that now they're like, that's it. That's all she's looking for. So now I have to go back and say, you still need to do the writing part. You still need to vote on the...
First of all, in
No.
Virginia Beach, the thought question has never been required. That's a district decision.
Okay.
Never.
So am I doing the right thing then
So
or
you just
not?
have to do the before reading poll, read the article, do the activity, and the after reading poll.
Okay.
What about the
Okay.
explanation for the poll? Is that counted into their score at all?
No.
No, if they click
But I
on
would
answer, it records
strongly
that.
suggest that you do it because it's the first introduction to evidence-based writing. If
Right.
you're not doing the thought questions, then they're not going to be doing any writing at all, other than what you're doing on your graphic organizer. So I shouldn't say they're not doing any writing. But the activity, the article and the activity are the most important part of what you're doing right now. So, you know what I mean? If you said to me, I'm doing steps 1 through 4 right now, how much do I need to focus on the explanation for the before reading poll? Well, it's not going to take as much precedence as step 2 and step 3. And what I need you guys to understand is that second try score doesn't count for anything other than you saying to the kids, okay, great, here's what you did on your first try. You went up on your second try. Let's talk about what did you do differently. Maybe on the first try you didn't use the hint button. Maybe on the first try you didn't refer to the article. So how did you do it differently?
So they're not
And say
averaging
to your
the
kids,
second try. So
No.
that's why they're all, it's reflecting that they're all bombing.
And here's
Not
the
all of
thing,
them,
their Lexile scores, remember how I told you at the end of the month it goes in and looks at performance? That algorithm never factors in a second try score. So your kids could bomb every first try and then get solid 100s. It's never going to look at the hundreds. It only looks at the first try. So you need to know that, and so do the kids. The point of the second try is to show them, did they
can
do
do
better,
it.
and now why? What did you do differently? Do that on your first try. Because some kids today, like I said to them, look at your article, refer to article button, and one little boy said, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And it's just till they internalize this. Again, it's October 3rd. I'm here today for awareness so that moving forward, you have a better and a more clear picture of what to focus on and what to talk to your kids about.
Alright, what is the other? It's got percentages over here and it says other.
This is just other ways they're spending their time, like maybe emailing,
Oh.
how much time they're spending outside.
How do you make that go over?
I just told them.
At the very bottom, there's like a little bar.
No, you're already scrolled all the way over.
No, because I can't read it. I mean,
That's
that's
it.
it? Oh, okay. So, other says how much time they're doing something else. Oh, and why are they, so I've gotten some emails from some of these kids, like one said he sent 3 emails. So that he's emailing me?
He could be emailing his classmates. Me personally, this is not a chief talking, I restricted email.
Well, I think it's restricted on here, but I'm wondering who he
I
emailed.
don't think they need to be emailing in here at all.
No. I don't know how he emailed 3 times. I
Well,
need
they
to
need
find
to
out.
get
I
their
would look
email.
in there.
They might have
don't need to
sent you an
send it.
email for their password,
Yeah.
right?
Pardon?
Can't you send
He's the only one in the whole
teachers'
class that
emails
did it,
to
but I
get
was
their
like,
password?
Yeah, they can
Yeah.
email you, they can
Right.
email each other, they can email Achieve. So you just have to watch, are they sending emails to each other?
okay.
They still have to be able to get their email though, remember that, because if you assign lessons, it'll come into their email. So they still have to be able to get into their email to get those lessons.
Oh, okay.
However, you can restrict it so they can't send.
They can't attach
True.
images and
Mhm.
kinda get in there and play around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, they'll find a way to.
Oh, yeah, they're,
They-
they're good at
They
finding
don't
ways.
realize
Could
that
hack
you
it
can
on
do
your
that.
data,
Mhm.
like when you have lifestyles that are like 400, 500, why is it not giving us something to know that the children are reading below
Well, it might not be flagging them as a developing reader or a beginning reader, but it doesn't mean that they're not, they might be falling far below or just approaching grade level. You just have to reference your Lexile chart. It's only gonna flag kids that are beginning or developing readers.
Yeah, I'm like you. I have a 385, but she's not flagged, so we're
Yeah.
345.
But like a
so-
385 is, it is definitely falling far below, but it's a lot different than a 95.
An
or
emergent
75
reader,
or
right.
150, right.
Like, I'm looking at it and looking at 570s, 525s, like that, and then a 510, but like you're saying, it's not on grade, I mean, boys.
It's not on grade level, but it's not considered a developing reader in terms of phonemic awareness,
No,
phonics,
they can't
sight
take
words.
this test one
That's how
time,
it
it's
flags
screw
those
up. They
kids.
have to do it right the first time. I mean, if
Um,
that's the way they're grading it, I'm gonna say,
down here at the bottom of your
Yeah,
menu.
so maybe
is that
they're like
career
flubbing
center.
through the first time and then,
Okay.
down at the bottom of the menu, I'm
Bottom of the
sorry.
menu is
Uh-huh.
your career center. This is kind of what it looks like when you go in. The idea is for kids to look at, the question you pose at elementary level is usually, what do you want to be when you grow up? Whereas in middle and high, you talk about what career are you interested in, what might you want to study in college beyond high school. But if you,
I didn't see how you did it.
okay. At the very bottom of your menu, you scroll down to student centers, and the career center is the first
How do you go
one.
back to home?
And then what it does is it puts careers into categories. Now your kids on their student edition, it lives in the resources. So I will
No.
show you that.
Scroll down.
And I might move myself out.
I probably have like 3 kids.
When your kids go into their student edition, it's right here in resources, career center. The idea is they go in, they explore different careers. When they hover over a career, it gives them a description of what that person does. So they mark a couple careers they're interested in. They click on find careers, and this is the screen that comes up, and it lets them see, here's my current Lexile, here's my career goal. When they mark a top career, which is just one, this is a demo account, so they mark top career as coach. Whenever they go into their student edition then, under their bulletin board is what we call this part. Right here is their top career listed. That's where they can click in and see what their Lexile level is, what their career goal is, and how they're moving toward that. So that's the only place they can access it. But it really is a good way to motivate kids to set goals and monitor growth in their Lexiles. Just makes a connection for them so they kind of understand more what you mean by a Lexile. Okay?
Yeah, I know.
And I'll be following up with an email, so you'll get reminders of all this. I know it's hard to remember here, but
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
We're off this morning. And after looking at all their data right now, something has to be done with that. But that's bad, and I know it should not be like that.